Okay, so this is Module 6, Maintaining the Plan. So in this module, we will cover why plans change and the concepts behind task management. All right, so your team has gone through all the trouble of planning. They've conducted their launch, made a commitment to the plan, gotten management approval to proceed, and now you're going to start carrying out your plan. You're doing more than most teams, but you won't get the full benefit of TPI unless you collect and track data against your plan. So schedule tracking is based off the team's plan, team member availability and task completion data, and an average accumulation of earned value. You, as an individual, have to track your own work, log your time to your tasks and mark things closed, and report your status weekly to the team. All the individual team members' data is rolled up into the team plan to determine if the team is on schedule and why or why not. So plan-driven versus planning-driven. The main message here is that the planning doesn't stop after the launch. When you learn more, when you realize what you forgot, when your availability changes, you want to replan. With the TPI tool, you can save a baseline of your original plan and easily compare your current plan to it. In TPI, we want project plans to mirror your current reality as well as you know it. So why do plans change? Well, according to our philosopher friend here, the only constant is change. So one reason a plan changes is because you come to a better understanding of your project. As you're working your project, you might find that the size of the project changes. Maybe you understand the requirements better or the design changes. This happened to me. I was part of a team designing an electromechanical test fixture for testing sensors for a 4-degree freedom sensor cluster. And the test fixture was going to go on a rate table in an oven, and we thought we were going to need to change orientation during the test, and that required us to design mechanisms and actuators and electronic controls and power. But in the course of designing the test fixture and doing the analysis, we realized there was a much simpler approach, and it didn't require any moving parts. We could get the right rates on each axis in a fixed position without just by varying the speed. So that made the project a lot simpler, a lot less expensive, and a smaller effort. So we realized we planned stuff that we didn't need to do, so we pulled it out of the plan. You might find that you missed some things, so you'll need to create more tasks. Or the work may be harder than you originally thought, and you're going to need to bring in some more skilled team members. Or you might have forgot to plan for a product, like, oops, this part needs an antenna, so you're going to need to add some tasks for that. So have any of you been on a project where the requirements change frequently? If you've been fortunate to not, some reasons the requirements could change is that the customer may need to have a new feature, or they have to have a product earlier. A team that I was coaching Monday morning after their launch, the stakeholders came in and said the Admiral moved a date up. They wanted a study done in 1 month instead of the 3 months they had planned for, so they needed to replan. Priorities could change. The documentation that was low on the list could now become the top priority. Or the customer may want part Y done before part X. Or you'll have some important visitor coming and you need to do a demo tomorrow. But regardless of what changes, it's important that you understand the request, respond with the impact to the project, and what alternatives are available. The team that I mentioned earlier had to renegotiate some of their milestone dates for the other work they were doing so that they could get that study done in the new time frame. And then once those impacts are accepted by your customer, you want to update your plan to reflect them. All right, so planning parameters change. Some of the assumptions that you made about how fast you could get the work done, how many defects, what your real availability was, were incorrect. So you want to replan. We want the plan to look like you, not you like the plan. All right, processes change. So as you work, you might find that you need to change your process. Maybe the steps are not in the right order, so you'll want to rearrange them. Or they're not the right resolution. You might need to make them more or less detailed. If you've got 6 half-hour steps, maybe you want to combine that into a 1-day task. Or you've got a task lasting for 3 weeks, you need to break that up. If you're missing some steps, you want to add those in. If you find that you've got work steps you don't have to do, remove them. And then if you're not producing high enough quality products, you might need to add another review to your process. Team composition changes. People come and go. They may be reassigned to another job, either temporarily or permanently, and you just want to make sure you update your plan to reflect those personnel changes. So, if you're a team of 5 and you're 1 month into a 6-month work cycle and you lose someone permanently, you might need to shift a lot of work around to other people and see how that affects some of your milestones. But if you're 5.5 months into that cycle and lose someone, it may not matter as much, but you still want to check the plan. So in TPI, we want you to keep your plans up to date. If there's small changes that you can make to your plan, go ahead and do it, and then let the team know. For really big changes, your team needs to understand the effect on the project, let the stakeholder know, and give them some alternatives. If you don't give them any choices, that's going to invite them to micromanage your project. So after the launch, you've spent your week with your favorite team members planning your project. Monday morning rolls around, and what should you do? You're going to sort your assigned tasks and start working on the first one. Pretty simple. So you'll want to prioritize your tasks at the beginning of the week. If you're working on something and it's not in the plan, you want to have your planning coordinator add it. If you see something that doesn't need to be there, have it removed. And then make sure your team lead is aware of any key changes to your plan. So day-to-day task management, most of the time you'll be making sure your work that you're doing is in the plan. You'll be logging your time and marking things complete. Occasionally, you'll have to do some other things. If it only involves you, then do them yourself and otherwise talk to the planning coordinator. And we're going to talk more about reorganizing and bucket tasks and load balancing in the following slides. All right, completing tasks. I'm bringing this up again because it's important. When you think you're done with a task, mark it complete. Even if you think you might have to touch it again later, there's no partial credit. A task earns its plan value only when it's marked complete. And ideally, you should mark it complete the day you finished it. But if you can't remember, just mark it complete for the week you finished it. Because the schedule calculations use an average earned value per week. So you don't have to track down the exact day if you've forgotten it. Just get it closed for the correct week. All right, reorganizing tasks for earned value. So we have 2 examples here of tasking that should be reorganized, because you want to be able to show progress weekly, and these examples are preventing this. So in this first example, if a person started 4 10-hour tasks simultaneously and can't finish them except all at once, you'll have a lot of time invested with no earned value to show for 4 weeks. So it's really like you're working one big 40-hour task. And in the second example, if task A is a 19-hour task, then you won't complete it for at least 2 weeks. So both examples should be replanned. So in example 1, if you can look at the work that you have to do and break things down into 10-hour tasks you can work sequentially, then you can sign something off each week and can show earned value for each week. And in example 2, it would be better to split up both task A and task B into 2 smaller tasks so you can show progress weekly. There we go. So by reorganizing these tasks, you can get yourself and your team into a situation where you can claim earned value each week. All right, so bucket tasks, they're for work that happens throughout the project. If you're a service organization, you might want to track answering help desk questions. So you could create a 20-hour per month task, and that may really help you understand how much time you're spending on the phone answering questions. If you're eliciting requirements or doing research, you can create a bucket that holds your estimated hours for these tasks. And then when you execute the tasks, you take hours out of the bucket and mark them complete at the end of each month. Brad and I, for example, we were approving 150 project plans for a group that was giving out funding once those project plans were approved. And they weren't all submitting them at once. So we created a bucket for about 120 hours for the 2 of us. And then we logged time each month. In the first month for me, I logged 37 hours. And then the second month, it was like 10.5 hours. And so you would just reduce the bucket at the end of the month. And that allowed for us to plan without knowing exactly when we would be spending the time, and we could at least get earned value monthly instead of at the end of 6 months. So load balancing. Reasons for load balancing could include sickness, family issues, maybe you worked harder than you thought. You just want to remember to re-estimate the task when you're moving it from one team member to another. And you want to use the person's historical data if they have it. So if you're moving a task from a veteran to a new person, you want to make sure you adjust the time that's going to take for the new person to complete that task. And if you look at the bottom of the slide here, Andy's forecasted to be done 3 weeks before Betty. And so you'd maybe want to take a task or two from Betty and give it to Andy. So remember, there's many reasons why your plan could change. We just want you to modify the plan to represent your circumstance as much as possible. And you need to collect as accurate of data as possible against your plan so you can understand your plan status.